So, hello everyone. Hi Jamish.
Hi, sir.
कैसे हैं आप? How are you?
Fine, sir.
Great, great. So, not many people are there. We two are the only ones as of now in the session. So, this gives
Okay.
us a good opportunity to talk and discuss a bit before we start with the session. तो जमिश थोड़ा बताएं अपने बारे में क्या कर रहे हैं आप कहाँ से हैं
Sir, I am from Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and right now I am in third year of BTech in Automobile Engineering at Pandit Dindayal Energy University, Gandhinagar, Gujarat.
ओके तो अभी आपका थर्ड ईयर चल रहा है
Yes, sir.
ऑटोमोबाइल इंजीनियरिंग
Yes, sir.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग तो जमेश ये बताएं कि आपको इस कोर्स के बारे में कैसे पता चला एंड व्हाट मोटिवेटेड यू टू ज्वाइन दिस कोर्स
Sir, our college has tell that you have to select one NPTEL course in this semester. So when I am also interested in entrepreneurship. So my interest is in entrepreneurship, and they tell us you have to select 12-week course. So I select this course.
अच्छा अच्छा तो मतलब ये आप लोगों को बताया गया था कि कोई भी आप 12 वीक का कोर्स सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं
Yes, sir. For
इंटरेस्टिंग
three credits.
3 क्रेडिट्स के लिए ओके
Yes.
ओके तो जमेश मुझे एक और बात बताएं कि कोर्स तो आपको ऑटोमोबाइल इंजीनियरिंग से भी रिलेटेड मिल रहे होंगे तो आपने यही कोर्स कैसे चुना मतलब एनपीटीएल में यू गेट अ वाइड रेंज ऑफ कोर्सेज राइट बहुत ही एक डाइवर्स बकेट है
Yes, sir. Sir, because after I after सर मुझे बीटेक खत्म करने के बाद मुझे सर एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और बिजनेस करना है, सो दैट्स व्हाई लर्न करने के लिए ये कोर्स सिलेक्ट किया सर.
वेरी नाइस बहुत बढ़िया बहुत बढ़िया तो जमेश आपके क्या कुछ फ्रेंड्स भी हैं आपके कॉलेज में जो ये कोर्स अटेंड कर रहे हैं या फिर आप अकेले हैं
सर इस कोर्स में मैं अकेला हूँ और मेरे क्लास में जो फ्रेंड है उन्होंने ओनली एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप नाम का कोर्स लिया है.
अच्छा क्या है कोर्स का नाम
ओनली वो कोर्स का नाम सिर्फ एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप ही है.
एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप ओके
यस
ओके
सर.
तो वो क्या है दैट इज ऑल्सो अ 12 वीक कोर्स इज इट
यस सर.
अच्छा वो भी 3 क्रेडिट्स का है
यस सर.
इंटरेस्टिंग इंटरेस्टिंग तो जमेश बताएं आपको अभी तक कोर्स कैसा लग रहा है समझ में आ रहा है या हाउ इज इट
यस सर, मुझे कोर्स में धीरे धीरे सर मेरा इंटरेस्ट भी बढ़ रहा है और अब मेरा प्रोग्रेस रिपोर्ट भी बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है.
वेरी नाइस तो आपके मार्क्स अच्छे आ रहे हैं मतलब
यस सर.
गुड गुड तो बताएंगे कितने आ रहे हैं हाउ इज इट गोइंग
सर सर बिटवीन 65 to 80 के बीच में सब मार्क्स आ रहे हैं.
वेरी नाइस तो अभी स्कूल वालों को आप लोग क्या ये प्रोग्रेस बताते हैं या फिर इनको लास्ट में सिर्फ सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए
नहीं सर, उनको शायद है ना लास्ट में हमें सब रिपोर्ट सबमिट करना पड़ता है.
ओके
अभी
ओके
अभी उसके रिगार्डिंग उन लोगों ने कुछ बताया नहीं है अभी हमको.
अच्छा अच्छा बहुत बढ़िया और जिमिश थोड़ा सा आप बताएं कि जैसे आपने बताया कि आपका स्कोर काफी अच्छा चल रहा है तो हाउ डू यू प्रिपेयर फॉर दीज असाइनमेंट्स कैसे प्रिपेयर करते हो आप
सर मैं असाइनमेंट्स के लिए सब जो लेक्चर वीडियोस है सर उसी में से सब प्रिपरेशन करता हूँ.
अच्छा तो जैसे मान लीजिए आपने एक बार पूरा लेक्चर देखा और फिर उसके बाद आप क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करते हो या फिर सारे लेक्चर्स देखते हो फिर क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करते हो
नहीं सर, मैं वेडनेसडे नाइट ही बैठ के सब लेक्चर्स देखता हूँ, फिर सब इम्पोर्टेंट जो होता है उसको नोट्स कर लेता हूँ और जो भी ऐसा अच्छा लगे उसके स्क्रीनशॉट सेव करके फिर मैं जब क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करता हूँ तब मैं देखता हूँ कि इसमें से मेरे को आंसर मिल रहा है, तब मैं वैसा आंसर ढूंढ के फिर सब एमसीक्यू को फुलफिल कर देता हूँ.
ओके ओके तो अगर मैंने सही समझा तो आप पहले पूरा कंटेंट वीडियो सारा देखते हैं आप उसको देखने के दौरान आप उसके नोट्स भी बनाते हैं
यस सर.
एंड यू आल्सो टेक स्क्रीनशॉट्स वेरेवर यू फील कि दिस इज एन इम्पोर्टेंट कंटेंट
यस सर. यस सर.
ग्रेट ग्रेट एंड देन फिर जब आपका पूरा मटेरियल रेडी हो जाता है देन यू ट्राई एंड अटेम्प्ट द क्विजेस इज इट
यस सर, एक बार देख लेता हूँ पहले और उसके बाद सब एमसीक्यू अटेम्प्ट करता हूँ.
ऑलराइट तो ऐसा भी हुआ है कि क्वेश्चन ऐसा आया है कि यू माइट हैव मिस्ड आउट तो आप दोबारा जाके वीडियो देखते हो ऐसे कभी सिचुएशंस आए हैं या फिर अभी तक ऐसा हुआ है नहीं?
नो सर, अभी तक मैंने ऐसा नहीं हुआ है, क्योंकि मैं सर लेक्चर है ना पूरा देखता हूँ, और जहाँ पे मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि इसमें सिर्फ कुछ नॉलेज जैसा पार्ट नहीं है, तो मैं थोड़ा स्किप कर देता हूँ, स्किप
ऑल
करके
राइट।
थोड़ा आगे का देख लेता हूँ।
ओके, ओके। सो यू मेक अ जजमेंट कॉल, आप देखते हो फिर थोड़ा सा आगे पीछे करके यू मैनेज दैट।
यस सर।
इंटरेस्टिंग। तो वेंसडे ही क्यों आप करते, मतलब बाकी दिन के आपके शेड्यूल काफी बिजी रहते हैं, इज इट?
नो सर, ऐसे तो सर मैं कॉलेज आने के बाद फ्री ही होता हूँ, पर वेडनेसडे लास्ट डेट होता है ना, तो मैं ट्राई करता हूँ कि या संडे कर दूँ या वेडनेसडे, ये 2 दिन में से कोई एक दिन कर देता हूँ।
ओके, ओके। और मुझे थोड़ा आप ये बताएं कि जैसे इसको एज अ फुल टाइम कोर्स आपके कॉलेज में माना जा रहा है बिकॉज इसका क्रेडिट वैल्यू भी है, तो
यस सर।
क्या आपके टाइम टेबल में इसके लिए कोई स्लॉट दिया जाता है कि आप इस दौरान भी पढ़ सकते हैं, या फिर टाइम टेबल में बाकी सारे पैक्ड हैं और ये आपको अलग से ही मैनेज करना है?
नहीं सर, टाइम टेबल में फ्री स्लॉट में हम अटेंड कर सकते हैं हमारे कॉलेज की लैब, और उसमें जाके वहाँ 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 के कंप्यूटर में बैठ के भी हम अटेंड कर सकते हैं।
ओके, ओके। और ये फ्री पीरियड्स आपके कितने फ्रीक्वेंटली होते हैं टाइम टेबल में?
सर हमारे वीक में 3 डेज में वन से 2 आवर्स होता है।
अच्छा, तो 3 डेज में 1 से 2 घंटे आपको मिलते हैं फ्री आवर्स।
यस सर।
और ये आपका मतलब 6 डेज अ वीक कॉलेज चलता है, 5 डेज कैसा चलता है?
5 डेज अ वीक।
सो सैटरडे संडे इज अ हॉलीडे।
यस सर।
ऑल राइट, ऑल राइट। नाइस, नाइस। तो जमीश, आपने बताया कि आप आगे चल के कुछ अपना बिजनेस शुरू करना चाहते हैं, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में कुछ करना चाहते हैं। सो डू यू हैव एनी आइडिया इन माइंड, या फिर देर आर फैमिली मेंबर्स हु आर हैविंग सम बिजनेस एंड यू वांट टू हेल्प देम, कैसा है, मतलब व्हाट इज योर प्लान?
यस सर। सो सर, मेरा फ्यूचर प्लान ये है कि मुझे ऑटोमोबाइल फील्ड रिलेटेड ही कोई बिजनेस करना है, जिसमें सर मेरे फैमिली से भी सब सपोर्ट है। माय फादर इज़ आल्सो बिजनेसमैन। तो मुझे सर बिजनेस का नॉलेज जब मैं छोटा था तब से ही है मुझे सर, और मुझे आगे जाके इंटरेस्ट इसीलिए बिजनेस में ज़्यादा है।
ओके, ओके। नाइस, नाइस, नाइस। तो आगे चल के क्या आप अपना मतलब अपने खुद के कुछ ऑटोमोबाइल डिजाइन्स लाना चाहेंगे, टू व्हीलर्स, फोर व्हीलर्स में, बाइसाइकिल्स में, किस सेगमेंट में आप सोच रहे हैं जाने की?
सर मैं सेल्स और मार्केटिंग के सेगमेंट में जाना चाहता हूँ।
ओके, ओके। इंटरेस्टिंग। तो मतलब जो भी प्रोडक्ट्स हैं जो डिजाइन हो चुके हैं उनको आप सेल और मार्केटिंग वाले पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इसको।
यस सर।
ओके, ओके। तो अगर उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आपको इस कोर्स में कुछ ऐसा लगा है जो समथिंग नया हो और आपको लगा हो कि ओ ये बहुत अच्छी चीज है, या फिर ऐसा कोई स्टडी जो आपको बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगा हो अभी तक?
यस सर। सर जैसे कि टीम कैसे बनानी, फिर टीम मेंबर्स के बारे में वो सब नॉलेज मुझे इस कोर्स से मिला। फिर सर डिज़ाइन के कोई भी प्रोडक्ट डिज़ाइन होता है, तो उसको डिज़ाइन करने के भी क्या क्या फैक्टर्स होते हैं, जैसे कि सर बीके चक्रवर्ती सर ने वो लिफ्ट डिज़ाइन, वो ट्रॉली डिज़ाइन की थी, जो केदारनाथ केदारनाथ में यूज़
पालकी,
हुई थी,
पालकी।
पालकी यूज़ हुई थी। वे सो सर वहाँ से मुझे सब नॉलेज गेन हो रहा है कि अब कोई भी प्रोडक्ट हो तो उसको किस तरीके से डिज़ाइन करें, ताकि हमारी मार्केट और टारगेट ऑडियंस जो है उनके लिए बहुत सूटेबल हो, कंफर्टेबल हो और अफोर्डेबल हो।
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया जमीश, आई एम रियली हैप्पी कि आप कंटेंट इतना थॉरोली पढ़ रहे हैं। और जैसे कई बार किसी से पूछो ना क्या केस स्टडी अच्छा लगा, इट टेक्स टाइम टू रिकलेक्ट, बट आपके दिमाग में था, इसका मतलब है कि यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग द कंटेंट वेरी वेल। वेरी
यस सर।
नाइस, वेरी
यस
नाइस।
सर।
ओके जमेश, हम लोग अभी थोड़ी देर में शुरू करेंगे हमारा सेशन। आई
ओके
होप
सर।
दैट यू विल बी देयर थ्रू आउट द सेशन
यस
एंड
सर,
यू विल
डेफिनेटली।
पार्टिसिपेट इन द सेशन। ग्रेट,
यस सर।
ग्रेट। We have one more participant, Bhavna. Can you briefly introduce yourself, if possible?
यस सर। हेलो सर। मेरा नाम भावना है। मैं एक्चुअली आउट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट ही ये कोर्स कर रही हूँ। आई एम नॉट अ स्टूडेंट बट प्रोफेशनल। तो मैं बेसिकली विजुअल कम्युनिकेशन में काम कर रही हूँ, और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में इंटरेस्ट मेरा पहले से ही था। एक्चुअली मैंने एक पहले स्टार्ट मतलब कुछ ट्राई भी किया था, बट मुझे लग रहा है कहीं पे मेरी नॉलेज कम पड़ गई है, तो आई थॉट ऑफ टेकिंग दिस कोर्स।
वेरी नाइस, मतलब बहुत अच्छा लगा जान के कि यू हैव ऑलरेडी ट्राइड समथिंग एंड यू आल्सो फील दैट देयर इज समथिंग लैकिंग जिसको आप फुलफिल करने के लिए यू आर ट्राइंग टू परस्यू दिस कोर्स। वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग।
हाँ जी।
तो भावना, इफ यू हैव टाइम, थोड़ा आप बता सकते हैं अपने जो आपने किया था उसके बारे में, वट एवर यू प्लान्ड अर्लियर।
सर एक्चुअली मेरा बैकग्राउंड जो है प्रोडक्ट डिजाइन का है।
नाइस।
तो बेसिकली आई एम एन आर्किटेक्ट और इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइनर। और मुझे अपने कॉलेज डेज से ही अपसाइक्लिंग में बहुत इंटरेस्ट था। तो जैसे जंक से फर्नीचर बनाया था कॉलेज टाइम में, इट वाज एन असाइनमेंट, तो दैट फैसिनेटेड मी अ लॉट। तो मैंने सोचा कि इसी में कुछ बिजनेस स्टार्टअप ट्राई करें। तो मैंने अपने पार्टनर के साथ किया था ट्राई। बट हमें कहीं लगा कि या तो मार्केट डिमांड नहीं है, और या मे बी दिस इज नॉट द राइट टाइम, या हम लोग का बिजनेस प्लान सही नहीं है, मतलब समवेयर वी वर लैकिंग। तो बट आई मीन वी डिड सम, हमने कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स भी बनाए थे, हमने कुछ वर्कशॉप्स भी लिए अपसाइक्लिंग के, सो दैट लोगों को पता लगे, स्टूडेंट्स को पता लगे कि व्हाट इज अपसाइक्लिंग एंड हाउ वी कैन डू इट एट होम, एट एनी प्लेस।
नाइस
तो
नाइस।
बट टू स्केल अप इज इशू, मतलब वो एक चैलेंजिंग चीज हो जाती है। तो देन दैट्स व्हाई आई थॉट कि एक कंप्लीट नॉलेज पे मिलना जरूरी है बिफोर आई एक्चुअली जंप अगेन टू दिस।
राइट राइट। अच्छा, तो भावना, जैसे आपने बताया कि यू हैड अ टीम ऑफ 2 पीपल और कहीं न कहीं आपको लगा कि यू माइट हैव लैग्ड समवेयर। तो मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि व्हेन यू गो थ्रू द कोर्स कंटेंट, अ लॉट ऑफ प्रोफेसर्स, अ लॉट ऑफ people who are handling the incubators, they basically, give very very interesting insights and advices. And one of them is about the team formation and the team construction. And I do have a slide on that as well at the end of this PPT, which is basically a snippet of what Professor Ravi is talking about. And but just to give you a glimpse, he talks about having a very diverse set of team members. So,
Okay.
for example, in the previous module also, there was one professor. He said that if you have a team, ideally the team size should be minimum 4. And the reason of saying that is that the moment you have, say, 3 members, and if one of them leaves, then you are just 2 people, and that kind of diversity does not lead anywhere. So what he suggests is that
Okay.
if there are at least 4 members, all of them are, say, one is from marketing, one is from design, the other is from the tech background, fourth one is from the management perspective. It makes a complete picture. And how it helps further is that, when you go for investment, when you go for funding, basically these funders and these investors, they see your team composition, and the moment they see that it is a very diverse field, you have flavors of all the different aspects for a product from design to launch, probably they are more interested in looking for. तो एक वो एस्पेक्ट है जो कि बहुत इंटरेस्टिंगली बताया गया है। दूसरा ये भी बताया गया है कि इन एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप नोबडी फेल्स, सो विच इज अ वेरी नाइस पॉइंट, एंड ऑन अ पॉजिटिव नोट दैट either you succeed in entrepreneurship or you learn from an entrepreneurship. Because in the latest module, Professor Ravi talks about that, even if you have a startup and you have experience of, say, 1 or 2 year, I think that he said that that is so rich in terms of experience that the people nowadays, the companies nowadays, they would want to hire people who have had an experience of a startup, because they are realizing that अगर आपने स्टार्टअप खड़ा किया है, आपने इसको चलाने की कोशिश की है, तो यू वुड हैव एक्सपीरियंस्ड लॉट ऑफ challenges which you have tried to address in a certain way. राइट, सो ये एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर है। आई थिंक इट ब्रिंग्स अस अ लॉट ऑफ मोटिवेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ अटेम्प्टिंग न्यू, like you mentioned that you have tried it, and probably some bit and where I think वो चीजें होती रहती हैं, but I think you must have had a lot of learning in that.
Yes, yes, sir. In fact, I'm really glad to know कि this is a positive thing because many companies see this as a failure, not a learning. So,
Yes, yes, yes. I think Chandrayaan 3 is a best example of that, no? Ki we are learning from failures and we are improving it, and then we are so really hopeful for you. We are thinking on the lines of a new startup once again, and my wishes and congratulations to you.
thank you, sir.
And even to Jemish, he has a very interesting idea. It's too young for him to have that kind of mindset, but it is really appreciable. I think that is the kind of ecosystem we need. That people are becoming ready at such a young age and would want to do something different, do something and taking up this journey of entrepreneurship. So I'm really happy to see young people, young minds, coming forward. Very nice. Okay, so I'll begin the session, and I would request, since there are only two of you, I would request your active participation so that we try to derive most out of it. जितना ज़्यादा हम dialogue में आएंगे, I think it will help others also understand well. And obviously, the thought processes is also something which we try and look for. Okay, if you are trying to answer a question and you have a particular opinion about a point that this should be the answer, then what is your thought process. So when we discuss those thought processes, we try to understand, okay, you are coming from that background and you have this kind of thing which might be right in your context. So it will help us understand more about each other, and we will have a lot many things to learn. All right, so I'll just put my screen on share, and please, one of you can let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes,
Great. जमिश आपको भी दिख रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice, nice. So, like I do in every session, the initial few slides are just the same ones. The idea is to have a common beginning, so that even if like I see new people coming up and joining in these sessions, the idea is to give them the understanding of what the course is, what are the basic specifications of the courses. Okay, so like initial 10-15 minutes will be about the structure, and then we'll move on to addressing the questions for this particular live session. So again, I welcome all of you on the week 5 of the course on understanding incubation and entrepreneurship. This is currently our fifth live session. We have in past conducted 4 live sessions, all of them on Saturdays between 5 to 7. And this is the fifth one. So basically, we have completed 1/3 of our journey, and this is something soon we'll be closing towards our half of the journey. So the course instructor is Professor VK Chakravarti sir. He is a professor from IDC, Industrial Design Center, ID Bombay. My name is Abhishek. I am a research scholar at IT Roorkee from the Department of Design, and my background is from architecture and industrial design. And before joining PhD, I was working into different dimensions of as an academician as well as a professional. And right now, I'm pursuing my PhD. So this is the general agenda of the session. This is a live session which will be helpful for you in the current run of course. By current run of course, what I mean is that currently the course which is running parallel, this is an add-on to that course, wherein we try to address any of the queries, or as well as solve the previous year's assignments. The idea of solving previous year assignment is that to make you aware of the typology of questions, how the question is framed, the kind of languages it is used, so that it might help you in solving the current version of the uh, assignments. Also, there are certain queries we often face, queries and questions from a lot of participants, and we use something called as discussion forum. Now, discussion forum is something which is platform oriented thing, and it is being offered by the NPTEL platform. So the place wherein you enroll a course, you have got this facility of asking a question, You hit on that, and then you can actually write in your question. Okay. During the live sessions, these are some protocol related things. It is always advised that you can keep your mic on mute so that there are no noise disturbances. And also, since we try and upload all these sessions on YouTube, the idea is that the sound quality needs to be better. The intent of uploading these sessions on YouTube is that for any reason, if you're unable to join this particular live session, whenever you have time, you can actually visit the YouTube and you can go through the session so that your queries might be addressed if you have in case. Um Obviously, you can mute yourself. Sorry, unmute yourself if you want to ask any question, or if you want to make a point, or even whenever I post a question and I invite you to respond to, you can unmute yourself. But meanwhile, you can put yourself on mute. Also, like I mentioned in the previous slide about discussion forum, it is something which is available in this particular thing, which is ask a question. And here you can post the question, and this question will be visible to all the learners of this particular course. So it's a very fantastic functionality wherein a question raised by a learner is seen by all, and then whenever I try to respond or the NPTEL team responds to it, the answer is visible to all the learners. So at the same point, what we are doing is your question is posted to all the learners. Everybody can understand, and there might be certain cases where the other people are also having the same question. And the good thing would be that you have raised your voice by asking that question. So when we address that question, then the questions of many other curious minds might be answered as well. So it is always good to use the discussion forum functionality. You might also use the Google Meet chat functionality, but since this is much more properly documented, uh, I think it is a preferable mode of asking questions. So I would request that you use this kind of functionality instead of Google Meet. But if you have any issues in accessing the discussion forum, you can obviously use the Google Meet functionality. Okay, so let me just tell you one more thing, just in case you have not been through, or there are any learners who might be seeing this video later. If you have not been aware of what SWAYAM and NPTEL is, so basically, when you arrive at this particular portal, this is how the page looks like under your go to courses. Go to your courses. So if you have taken one course, obviously it will show this. If you have taken few more courses, then there will be a list of courses wherein you select which course you have to take. The moment you select that, you arrive on this particular page. So it shows you the link to register, to check your payment status, what are the different announcements for this particular course in terms of content, upload, and the last date of assignments, and the registration related thing. About the course is a section where week wise you get new and new content every week, and the content also includes certain lectures, additional learning materials, as well as the last component is the quiz, which is something which is very very important in order to get certificate. Progress is something you get to see your assignment wise marks, so it helps analyze and see how you are performing in all these sessions, especially the quizzes or the assignments. Okay. uh, this basically tells you about where the recordings will be made available. These are links, and the easier version of accessing these links in terms of YouTube link as well as the share drive is that you go through the NPTEL platform. So here, if you can see, on the left pane, you'll be having, problem solving session. It will be written July 2023. You can click on it and it will lead you to an Excel sheet. The Excel sheet will have both of these links. So you can easily access them. So instead of writing it down, taking a snippet of this particular slide, the better way and the easier way is to go through this particular format. Okay. Talking about the course preview, I think most of you are familiar with the courses Understanding Incubation and Entrepreneurship. The course instructor is Professor B.K. Chakravarti, who is professor at IIT Bombay and who is also taking lead in the Design Innovation Center there. So, which is also known as DIC. DIC is something, which is also established in many institutions like in IT Roorkee also we have a DIC. You will find it at most of the premier institutions, this particular thing, Design Innovation Center. All right, so it's a 12-week course and we are currently discussing on the week 5 content. We are closing towards our half course eventually. The week 5 deadline is 30th of August. So, you will have some time, I think 4 to 5 days in terms of submitting the assignment. And a very critical and important information here is the final examination date, right? So it was initially, I think 18th or 25th, but then it got extended. So you just have 2 more days to register for the examination. Just in case you have not done, you need to do it urgently and immediately. While doing it, you might, want to arrange certain documents like your scanned signature, your photograph, and an ID proof that you need to keep handy because that is something which will be required in a particular file size. So I just write it down here. You'll have to have a photograph, you'll have to have a signature, and then you have to have a ID proof. Preferably a government ID proof. So Aadhaar works, driving license, voter ID card. So these are the things which can be made available. Okay. This is your section of progress. All right. So I believe now those of you who have registered for the examination, you'll be able to see a value here. You'll be able to see a value here, here, and probably assignment 4 as well. Right. So if you have been quite regular in terms of attempting these assignments and submitting them, you would be able to see your marking. So it helps you analyze yourself how you are performing as of now. And since probably I've mentioned it or not, but the best 8 are counted while we are evaluating your internal assessment. So that is the minimum assignments you need to do, in order to have your internal weightage of 25%. Okay. Now, this is an aspect wherein, there might be learners who are doing it for understanding for the content part and not primarily for the certificate because, there are many learners who are um, professionals and, they are doing it, seeking it to, gain more understanding about what entrepreneurship is, what kind of facilities are there, which helps in terms of incubation. So for them, the course is completely free. So NPTEL does no charge for the course content. It's something which is very fantastic. They are not taking money for all these rich content. So they are taking money only when you need to appear for the examination. So this money is basically for your examination in order to gain the certificate, right? So certificate is something like most of the learners are students from institutions and they are doing it for the fulfillment of credits. And that's where, this NPTEL pitches in and counts in and gives you the learners a very great flexibility in terms of, taking a course of their choice apart from their regular courses in their college and, kind of, taking them, understanding them in their own, self-paced way. So, like we were discussing with Jamish, whenever he gets time, either on Wednesday or Sunday, he goes through the content and attempt. I think that kind of flexibility is a huge factor in terms of learning. When you don't have that constraint of time, you have that self-paced. आप content अपने हिसाब से उसको run कर रहे हैं, पढ़ रहे हैं, pause कर रहे हैं, back जाके देख रहे हैं. I think it's a very critical thing in learning, and I think NPTEL supports it. So they are doing really great work in terms of that. The last date for registration is 28th of August, as I mentioned. Those who have not been able to register, you just have a couple of days left. Please do it. It's very very critical in terms of certificate and to gain that certificate. Okay, so if we are talking about certificate, so there are certain criterias that you need to meet in terms of getting that certificate, and the composition is 25 plus 35, where 25 is your internal and 75 is your external. So I'll just quickly explain what internal and what external is. Internal is where you are attempting those assignments. So every week you have a quiz or an assignment. So you have 12 quizzes or 12 assignments. And like I mentioned, the best 8 will be counted. So it's better that you attempt more and more so that your score can be higher, right? So if you have, may for example, you have attempted a quiz, you scored like 40 to 50 marks out of 100. Okay, so don't get disheartened because you have more opportunities left. You attempt another quiz by studying more, and then you will be able to score more. So the best 8 will be taken. So no matter if you get low marks in one, the next quiz you attempted with a better way and you might have better scoring. So 25%, as I mentioned, is from the internal and 75 is from the external. By external, I mean the physical examination. Okay. Now, physical examination means that you will be going to a particular center and you will be attempting a paper. Now, when you go to a center, you need admit card, and that's where we are, asking you to do the registration. Okay, so everything is linked. You register, you'll get your details, you'll get an admit card with the details of, the center, the time, it would be probably a 3 hour paper, and then you need to reach that examination center. Now, one thing which I would like to highlight here is that examination center is not something that you might get anywhere. You will get uh, 3 options to select that examination center, and you can prioritize it. You can put it in a hierarchy that okay, I want center 1, then I want center 2, and then I want center 3. Now why this is important? Because many a times what happens is that there are more number of students for center 1, so what they do is that they will allocate you to center 2. If there are more and the strength is more, then you might be allocated to center 3. So there are many other factors, not just the count of students, but then also know how many centers they could designate in a particular area. What is the reachability of that area, and and at what time you have registered. So if your registration is very late, probably the seats would be filled, so you might get any one of them. So that is the idea behind taking 3 options and then allotting you one. One of the slides I've mentioned that exam happens for a 3 hour duration, and you've got 2 options. One is pre-lunch and the other is post-lunch. Okay, so there are 2 slots. You can opt for one of them, and based on your comfort, you can select them, and then you can have your final exam accordingly. All right. So this is a brief preview of what we have gone through. We have, sailed from week 1 till week 5 today, and there's a lot of content. There is a lot of, case studies. There is a lot of rich startup stories and challenges which we have gone through, and I think it's very, very fascinating, and it's very, very helpful to a lot of startups who are, planning to go ahead in their journey, because many a times, when we start off and we don't have any prior experience to it, we get into those valleys of deaths. And when we go through these case studies, we go through the pitfalls, we might have a better probability in terms of passing through those challenges, or passing through those valleys of death. So it's very, very important, and I think it's very critical that we learn from the journeys, the suggestions, what the other startup people, the mentors, the incubator are telling and are offering, in terms of we get that kind of a support, and we sail through in our journey very easily. So week 1 we started with the introduction to entrepreneurship. We talked about why startups fail, what are the mistakes by startups. Then we went to handholding of startup journey of Mustafa, which is basically that ID batter. We talked about in very, very great detail. Then there was a panel discussion with the startups who were at the GDC, and they shared their stories, their challenges, and their suggestions for the new age startups. This was followed by Professor Chakravarti's 7 concerns, which is basically the methodology of innovation, which starts with a cause and which ends with a connect. Also, we talked about team building, team composition, and how to frame a problem statement. Week 4 was about the ideas program at IIT Bombay. And in detail, we discussed and saw what Avinash was talking about in terms of solar oven case study, how he started with a certain target audience, and then how he progressed with a different kind of audience. So it's again a very interesting startup journey, subject to learn from. And finally, we are here at the week 5 content, which talks about healthcare and innovation. I think Professor Ravi is the key speaker in these sessions. And we also see a lot of medtech success stories, of which one is basically, just write it down, the smart stethoscope. If you have gone through the content, you would be able to see that what we are talking about, and then the innovation process for biomedical or the medtech. Also, it is followed by certain ALMs. ALMs are basically additional learning materials. Okay, wherein we see a case from the Hula Global, which was a garment manufacturing company, and how they scaled from garment manufacturing to basically, supplying PPE kits, gowns, N95 masks, and all this happened during this critical phase of COVID-19. So again, it's a very interesting story. It is captured by yourstory.com. And if you get time, please go through it. It shows, wherein this entrepreneurship kicks in. When we see the constraints, some in the constraints see the opportunities. So it's a very fantastic example of, where the constraint were seen as opportunities and how they scaled their operations, uh, you know, from garment manufacturing to basically, supplying PPE kits, and not just supporting India, but then they also talk about, how they are catering to the other markets outside India. So Saudi Arabia and UAE, and then even Thailand and African nations, how they have scaled their operations. So very interesting, very enthusiastic sailing through of this particular Hula Global. And then there is this tech scan, the T scan sensor, which is about the dental domain. And if you get time, you can also go through that PDF. All right. So there are two typology of questions. Every session I talk about this because it's important to basically know before attending the questions, because this will help you in terms of figuring out what is the right one. So which soft drink you want? So here only one option is allowed. This is also called uh, these are also called radio button. So in user experience, user interface, this typology of buttons are called radio buttons. So only one option is allowed. So I can just opt one. So say for example, I opt for slice. So only one option is correct. What do you want in your milk tea? These are the multi-select checkboxes. Okay, which means that you can select multiple options. So what do you want in your milk tea? I might want masala, I might want ginger, and I might want sugar, obviously. Now I don't like cardamom, I might not want it, but if there is a possibility that I might want cardamom as well, so I can either select all of them or I can select two of them. Okay, so it is up to me. Great. I think this would be quite clear to both of you. Now, marking of multiple choice questions. Now, it is important that because many times students get marks in decimals, okay, and they might question that how they are getting marks in decimals, and it is because of uh, this clause, which is the clause number 3. Okay. Now it's quite clear. Now, say for example, there is question 1. They have got A, B, C, D options. There is question 2. We've got A, B, C, D options. All right. I'll just quickly explain. It won't take much time, but I think it's important to, ponder upon this particular aspect because it deals with your marks, and marks are quite important in this particular course, right? So it says that, if all the options chosen by the student are correct and no correct options are opted, then full marks will be awarded. Okay, so if there are A and B correct and you have opted both of them, you'll get full marks. Now, second says if at least one incorrect answer has been chosen, no marks will be awarded. So, say for example, for question 1, the correct answers were A, B, and C. However, while you are attempting the question, what you did was you selected A, you selected C, and you selected D. Okay. Now, although you have selected A and C, but you have not selected B, however, you have selected a wrong answer. It's a wrong answer. Now, in this scenario, you will be awarded 0 marks. All right. However, let me explain it in a different way. If you select only A and C and you leave out B, in that case, you will get partial marks because you have selected only the right ones. So A and C were the right ones, although B was also right, but you didn't select B, neither D. So here, in case, you will get certain partial marks. Okay. So this is basically what I was informed by the NPTEL team in my previous session. I believe that they are following the same thing. So, that is where you can get your marks in decimals. So don't worry about that. It is basically, this background coding which is there in terms of evaluation of marks. Okay. Now let's begin with a set of questions. Jemish and Bhavna, are you there with me?
Yes, sir.
Jemish?
Sir,
Okay, great, great. So I'll just check if there is just all right, all right. Great. Great. So the question is, according to Professor Ravi in module 5, it is advisable for small startups to opt for which kind of devices and for what reason? Okay. So remember Professor B. Ravi, he's there. He talks about, he's from the BETIC. Okay. And he has been spoken about health and medicine and, various startups which they have incubated, and he is basically advising that small startups to opt for which kind of devices and for what reason. So there are different segment of devices. Here you can see you've got high risk medical devices, you've got low risk, you've got active device, and you've got handheld device. High risk. So Jamish, any suggestion in this? Any thoughts?
mm, sir, I think option C.
Okay. So Jamish says that, there is a probability that option C. Why do you think so, Jamish?
Sir, because the devices are active devices and they have a good value proposition. That's why.
Okay, okay, okay. थोड़ा सा आप मुझे एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं क्या? व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय एक्टिव डिवाइस?
सर एक्टिव डिवाइस यानी मेरे हिसाब से जो रेगुलर यूज होते हैं वैसे डिवाइस जो एक्टिवली मार्केट में जिसकी एक्टिवली डिमांड रहती है.
ऑलराइट, ठीक है, ठीक है, फाइन. भावना, इफ यू वुड वांट टू suggest any of the option based on the options which have been presented.
Mm, I think B, low risk medical devices, because since it's a startup and um, initially startups don't have money. So that's
Okay, that's a interesting point coming from experience. Okay, so let us go through these options and let us try to understand, what could be the right answer. Now, first one says high risk medical devices, because profit is high. we don't know about profit. Eventually only we will be able to comment on profit. But high risk medical device means something which pertains a lot of risk. And when you are a startup, you are just beginning. High risk medical devices, as explained by Professor Ravi, it takes a lot of time. Okay. He says that, it might take 5 to 8 years in terms of, coming out with a product. So if you're beginning your journey and then there is a very, very long journey of 5 to 8 years. So what he suggested that you start up with something small, something like screening devices. Okay. And that's where, you can actually turn out something, quickly. You don't require that kind of, oh, we have got one more learner. So hi, Lavanya. Okay. So that is there. So high risk medical devices, why does it take a lot of time? कोई बता सकता है मुझे? So since it says high risk, which means that it requires more rigorous testing. Okay. It requires more rigorous, certification. You have to meet medical regulations, you have to meet medical standards, and then only it will be used for deployment. All right. So that is where, all these, checks and certifications will come, and then only, you might see the day of light. Now, the second option is low risk medical device because investment is low. And I think, like one of the learners, Bhavna, she mentioned that, startups might have, very limited kind of budget. Even if they might get a funding, it would be very important them to use and utilize that funding in a very judicious way. Okay, you cannot just spend it like that. So even when investors give money, it's very important that the different aspects of money are considered before you go through spending that money. So it might be the correct option, but I'll tell you at the last. Now, third thing is active devices. What Jimmy said that it might be good as has a good value proposition. Now, active device might have a good value proposition. It completely depends on what kind of product where it is being used. But according to me, and as I've seen through the content, active device would mean that it is placed within your body and it is in a working condition. Say, for example, a pacemaker. Okay. It is something, which is there inside your body. It is helping your heartbeat. It is in an active state and it needs to be really perfect because, the life and death of a person depends on that particular device. So that is where, for example, this pacemaker is one of that device, active device, which is in the body. Okay. Now, say, for example, you are a startup and you are trying to work around pacemaker, which pertains to, the life and death of a patient. It becomes very, very critical that whatever you are making, whatever you are suggesting, it works well. And again, it will go through these kind of channels, right? So the fourth option is handheld device because it is easy to manage. Now, the content never talks about handheld devices and being it easy to manage. It might be easy to manage, but then the category which one can think of as a beginning part is what I mentioned as screening. Screening devices. So because they are low risk, you're just trying to screen the patient, you're trying to find those values, you're trying to make certain judgment out of screening that, that requires further diagnosis. So it is kind of low risk. It does not fall into that huge cycle of that. Obviously, it will go through certain regulatory checks, but then the time frame is less. So the correct answer is low risk medical device because the investment is low. So it was a good thought. And I think it's great that, both of you participated and shared your thought process. Okay. So the correct answer is low risk medical device because investment is low. Okay. Great. Any questions as of now?
No, sir.
Great. Great. Okay. We'll go to our next question. The next question is as mentioned in the module biomed innovation. Biomed is basically what do you say biomedical. Which of these may be classified as a screening device? So remember we talked about screening device in the previous question. The options here are smart stethoscope, ventilator, oxygen concentrator, and all of the above. So I would request you guys to think upon it. read the question and the options, and then let's try to answer this question. मॉड्यूल जो आपका बायोमेड इनोवेशन था, विच ऑफ दीज मे बी क्लासिफाइड एज स्क्रीनिंग डिवाइसेस? ओके, तो एग्जाम्पल्स हैं आपका वेंटिलेटर, ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर, स्टेथोस्कोप, स्मार्ट स्टेथोस्कोप। बेसिकली ये कंटेंट में बताया गया था स्मार्ट स्टेथोस्कोप। इट वाज a case discussed as, I think it was let's check, medtech, हाँ, medtech सक्सेस स्टोरीज। तो उसमें ये केस बताया गया था। कोई बताना चाहेगा? एनी ऑप्शंस, एनी थॉट्स?
A, A, smart stethoscope.
Okay, why do you think so? A?
Because it's a non-invasive and externally you can use it.
Okay, so you are saying that it is non-invasive and okay, so that is why it might be counted as a screening device.
Yes.
ओके ओके। जमीश, आपको आपका कोई मत है इसमें? एनी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू?
Sir, I think option D, all of the above, because all devices have screen in there.
अच्छा, ओके ओके। सो सो लेट अस गो थ्रू इट। आई थिंक नेक्स्ट स्लाइड विल हेल्प ऑल ऑफ अस अंडरस्टैंड this kind of composition. So this is a slide from the presentation. So medical device is the, you can say, is the broader category. Okay, broader category. And this is how it is diversified into diagnosis and treatment. So within diagnosis, sorry, within diagnosis, you have got screening, monitoring, and diagnosis. Within treatment, you have instruments which are like surgical instrument, life support. Now, life support is something, if you have gone through the options, you've got ventilators. Okay, these are life support, and then assistance. Yani ki these are like prosthetics. Prosthetics like you have got Jaipur foot, है ना? So those are the examples of prosthetics. तो अभी इस स्लाइड को देख के what do you think is the right option? Okay, so we have seen diagnosis में screening होता है, monitoring होता है, diagnosis होता है, treatment में आपके, इसको हम लोग लिख सकते हैं surgical instruments। ये आपका वेंटिलेटर लाइफ सपोर्ट हो गया, ये आपका असिस्टेंस हो गया, यानी कि प्रोस्थेटिक्स के जो एग्जांपल्स होते हैं, जो आर्टिफिशियल लिम्स वगैरह होते हैं, वी कैन आल्सो talk about exoskeletons there. So there are many options in that. तो अभी अगर आप देखोगे एंड इफ यू सी द ऑप्शंस, वेंटिलेटर है जो, और आपका जो ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर है, दे आर बेसिकली हेल्पिंग यू इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट ऑफ लाइफ सपोर्ट, है ना? वेंटिलेटर में आपने सुना होगा, हॉस्पिटल्स में वेंटिलेटर पे हम लोग लास्ट स्टेज में जाते हैं, व्हेन थिंग्स आर नॉट वर्किंग, वी आर ट्राइंग टू मॉनिटर एवरीथिंग, but as well as we are giving certain medication there, and then we are so when you reach ventilator, it means that you are really critical and then you need life support. उसी तरह जो ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर्स थे, जब ऑक्सीजन बॉडी में SpO2 was very low, there people were advised to have that kind of things, which were basically available in the hospitals. So again, yet it is something which is very critical for life support. Okay, so both these options are pertaining to your, oh sorry, this one and this one, pertaining to your segment of life support. All right, and the only one which basically talks about screening is the stethoscope. Okay, so the correct answer here is this, which is the stethoscope. Great, great. Okay, so the correct answer is stethoscope. All right, we'll move to our third question. It's kind of an easy one. If you have gone through the content, you will be able to attempt it. Let me just repeat the question. As discussed by Professor Ravi in the module Biomed Innovation, what are the four important stages of medical device innovation process? Now, here he's specifically talking about मेडिकल डिवाइस, मेडिकल डिवाइस का एक उन्होंने इनोवेशन प्रोसेस बताया है. And what? So he talked about four Ds. Now, however, these Ds are a bit different from what we hear in the design process, or the double diamond design process, which talks about different set of Ds. However, here it is basically a bit different. I'm not saying that it's completely different, but then there is just one or two things which are different. So the options are define, develop, deliver, deploy. Deliver, define, discovery, develop, discuss, define, and the last option is deploy, deliver, download, and discovery. So I would request both of you to please suggest what do you think would be the right answer.
A.
Sir, option A.
Okay, so option A says define, develop, deliver, deploy. So both of you are saying option A, and so we've got a consensus here. Now, before I tell you the correct answer, let me just introduce you to something called as double diamond. It is something which is not being told in the content, but just for information perspective, I think it is important. It also talks about 4D, and the 4Ds are discover, define, develop, and deliver. All right. However, if you see when we talk about the medical design process, no, so it's a design thinking process, but मेडिकल डिवाइस की जब हम बात कर रहे हैं तो थोड़ा सा वो भिन्न है. इट इज अ बिट डिफरेंट. सो वी कैन सी दैट डिफाइन इज देयर, डेवलप इज देयर, डिलीवर इज देयर, but the last one needs is deployment, you know. So जब मेडिकल डिवाइसेस की हम बात करते हैं तो डिप्लॉयमेंट बिकम्स वेरी क्रिटिकल, कमर्शलाइजेशन पार्ट ऑफ इट, बिकॉज अगर वो वहां तक जा ही नहीं रहा है तो मेडिकल डिवाइस का इनोवेशन प्रोसेस तो हो ही नहीं रहा है. So and anyways, for any product to become a part of innovation, it needs to be mass produced and used by the masses. ठीक है. So that is where it is quite critical. And yes, the correct answer is the first option, which is discover, develop, deliver, and deploy. So both of you are correct. So congratulations to both of you. I got it perfectly right. Great. We'll go to our fourth question. According to module 5 by Professor Ravi, which of these is not a golden rule for defining the problem statement? Okay. Now, again, there was a section wherein defining the problem statement was a bit critical in terms before you proceed on with the journey. And the options here are must not be vague, must include what, why, and who, must include the solution, and must go to the root cause. So here, please see that we are talking about what is not a golden rule, है ना? Not a golden rule. तो आपको इन ऑप्शंस में से वो आइडेंटिफाई करना है जो कि गोल्डन रूल नहीं है फॉर डिफाइनिंग अ प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट. सो ऑल्सो इट्स अ रेडियो बटन क्वेश्चन, which means that only one will be correct. So it is open to you. आप लोग सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं what could be the right answer. Anyone? Okay, let me just quickly see if there is some. Okay, so we've got one option C from Bhavna. She says option C. Okay.
No idea.
That's perfectly fine. Okay, so let me explain and go through it. तो अगर हम देखें, जो क्वेश्चन था हमारा हमारा क्वेश्चन था कि प्रोफेसर रवि ने बताया कि इनमें से कौन सा गोल्डन रूल नहीं है। प्रोबेबली ही वुड हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट गोल्डन रूल, और नहीं है वो हमें ढूंढना है। तो पहली बात, अगर हम प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट की बात करें तो इट मस्ट नॉट बी वेग ना, तो इट नीड्स टू बी इट विच इज बेसिकली मीन्स दैट इट नीड्स टू बी प्रिसाइज। तो भाई प्रिसाइज होना चाहिए, और ज्यादा में पिन पॉइंटेड होना चाहिए, बहुत ब्रॉड माइंडेड नहीं होना चाहिए। इट मस्ट इंक्लूड व्हाट, व्हाई एंड हु। क्या बना रहे हैं, किसके लिए बना रहे हैं, कौन है हमारा टारगेट ऑडियंस। सो इट इज ऑल्सो वेरी मच रिक्वायर्ड इन अ प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट। ठीक है। इट मस्ट इंक्लूड द सोल्यूशन, इट मस्ट इंक्लूड द सॉल्यूशंस। इसका मतलब है कि हम अपने प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट में ही हम सोल्यूशन भी बता रहे हैं। बट ये गलत चीज है, दिस इज रॉन्ग। हम अपने प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट में सॉल्यूशंस नहीं बता सकते हैं। प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट, दैट इज व्हाई वी से दैट द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट शुड नॉट हैव सॉल्यूशंस, बिकॉज द मोमेंट यू से सॉल्यूशन, देन तो आपने तो, अगर सामने वाले के पास आप जा रहे हो, आप बोलोगे कि अच्छा आपको ये दिक्कत हो रही है, मेरे पास ये सॉल्यूशन है, you know, people will not give you the right answers and the right opinions. All right, you should go with the problem, you should find their needs, क्या चाहिए उनको, और उन needs से you need to derive solutions. Many times what happens is that we have a solution and we try to fit into this, but this is a completely wrong process. ठीक है। ये हम लोग बोलते हैं कि ये तरीका सही नहीं है कि आपके पास सोल्यूशन है और आप उससे नीड्स जनरेट कर रहे हो, बना रहे हो। सो यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द नीड्स। वंस यू हैव आइडेंटिफाइड द नीड्स, देन यू कैन वर्क अराउंड द solution. Okay, must go to the root cause, again that is something which is required. So the correct answer here is must include the solution, क्योंकि ये golden rule नहीं है, ये नहीं होना चाहिए। प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट में should not mention the solution. Okay, प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट शुड नॉट मेंशन द सॉल्यूशन, वो आना ही नहीं चाहिए हम। ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं। फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन है हमारा, as discussed in the module the innovation process, बिटिक सेंटर, बिटिक हमारा बिटिक सेंटर है, is seen as dash for medtech innovators. Okay, so you have to fill in the blank. हमें ये भरना है, और ये हमारे पास 4 ऑप्शंस हैं, वन ऑफ देम इज करेक्ट। इट इज सीन एज डैश फॉर medtech innovators. So the options are running partners, investors, support, and none of the above. Okay, so one of them is correct. Option is open to you all. आप दोनों देख सकते हैं and suggest me, what could be the correct answer. Anyone?
No idea.
Okay, Jamish?
No idea, sir.
No idea is not the option here. So, uh, okay. So if you have gone through the video, it says that Bitek is seen as the running partner. Okay. मतलब वो बेसिकली कन्वे करना चाहते हैं कि वो आपके साथ पार्टनर की तरह काम कर रहे हैं, और आपके साथ दौड़ने वाले पार्टनर की तरह काम कर सकते हैं। ओके, सो दे आर नॉट हियर टू इन्वेस्ट मनी, बिकॉज they will help you in the process. They might connect you with the investors, but they are not, investing themselves. Okay, they are not just supports, they are partners, they are running partners. They are going along with you, they are providing you whatever kind of support you need, and that is where the right answer is. Okay, so the right answer is running partners. Okay, question number 6. In the bitic pipeline, the medical park is above. ओके, अगेन दिस इज समथिंग, अगर आपने कंटेंट पढ़ा होगा, देखा होगा, तभी आप लोग समझ सकते हैं कि व्हाट द बिटिक पाइपलाइन इज अबाउट। अब कर दीजिए, मेरे पास रहने वाली थी। ये बाहर वाली भाषा होगी वैसे yes, 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 yes. Okay, so the options are in the Betic pipeline, the medical park is about exhibition, business expansion, business incubator, and all of the above. तो अगर मैं आप लोगों को थोड़ा सा हिंट दूं, सो मेडिक पाइपलाइन इज वेयर इट स्टार्ट विद मेधा और उसके बाद कई सारे स्टेप्स आते हैं एंड देन इट एंड्स विद मेडिकल पार्क. ओके, सो इट्स लाइक देर आर डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ हैकाथॉन्स जहाँ पे टीम्स को बुलाया जाता है, फिर उनको एक कैंप में रन किया जाता है, फिर उनको धीरे धीरे gradually they increase the stages, increase the stakes, and then they kind of launch it and expand it. Okay, so okay, so any ideas? I think we any options, any suggestions?
Exhibition?
Sorry.
No, that's a vague answer. Exhibition, I think.
Okay, so you are
The
suggesting
sir, option C.
option C. Jamesh says option C. Bhavna, what do you suggest?
Option A, exhibition.
ऑप्शन ए. मैं थोड़ा जान सकता हूँ आप दोनों का कैसे इस पे आए? जैसे भावना, कैन यू टेल मी व्हाई एग्जीबिशन?
So actually, guess ही है.
ओके ओके, मे बी लाइक मेडिकल पार्क है तो हो सकता है वहां पे एग्जीबिशंस होते होंगे, समथिंग लाइक दैट मे बी.
Yeah.
ओके, जमेश आप बताइए, हाउ डिड यू अराइव एट बिजनेस इनक्यूबेटर?
सर क्योंकि इसमें बहुत सारे स्टेप्स है तो बिजनेस इसीलिए मैंने ये ऑप्शन सिलेक्ट किया, बिजनेस
ओके
इंक्यूबेटर.
ओके ओके ओके,
स्टेप बाय स्टेप है सर इसीलिए.
करेक्ट करेक्ट. तो आई थिंक द बेटर वे ऑफ coming to the answer of this question is basically I show you this slide. Okay, so this is called as Betic pipeline. All right, अगर आपने देखा हो कंटेंट में, so it starts with Medha, which is a 2-day camp, and then it gradually increases to 1 week, 1 year, 2 year business incubation, and then business expansion. All right, तो अगर आप देखें तो ये डिवाइस हैकाथॉन से शुरू होता है, मेडिकल डिवाइस हैकाथॉन होता है 2 दिन का. उसके बाद जहाँ पे वो टीम्स आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं वॉट एवर दे आर वर्किंग, वॉट वैल्यू दे आर जनरेटिंग. ओके, देन दे इनवाइट यू टू दी मेडिक कैंप, विच इज दी 1 week डिवाइस इनोवेशन कैंप. और उसके बाद फिर वो उसको फर्दर सपोर्ट करते हैं बेटिक सेंटर में, विच इज थ्रू सर्टन फेलोशिप्स, बिकॉज सस्टेनिंग इज ऑल्सो वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके, बेटिक के बाद वो मेडिक्स में आता है. सो भावना सेड एग्जीबिशन, सो बेसिकली एग्जीबिशन इज अ लिटिल बिफोर दैट, इट इज मेडिक्स जो कि आपका एग्जीबिशन है, विच इज यू कैन कॉल इट मेडिकल एग्जीबिशन, बट एग्जीबिशन एंड वैलिडेशन. फर्दर उसके बाद वो स्टेज में आते हैं बीआई. बीआई इज बेसिकली योर बिजनेस इनक्यूबेटर्स. ओके, incubators, and then finally you scale it up with medical park, which is the business expansion. When you are expanding your business, business expansion can happen in multiple ways. Either you can you have new product segments which you are trying to increase, or you are trying to increase more of your channels and partners. So कई level पे हो सकता है, the scaling up can happen in different ways, but basically that is where this medical part is all about. Okay, so it starts with the identification, then the training, then further support and networking, followed by formation of an entity in terms of startup, and then scaling it up. So medical park is associated with the business expansion aspect. All right. So the correct answer here is business expansion. Okay. So we go further now. We come to our 7th question. Complete the following sentence. According to Professor Ravi, dash are far cheaper to solve various health problems, especially in India. Okay, आपके पास options हैं: surgical equipment, hospital appliances, customized implants, and mass screening devices. क्या लगता है? What could be the right answer? भारत में क्या बेटर रहेगा? प्रोफेसर रवि के अनुसार आर फार चीपर टू सॉल्व वेरियस हेल्थ
Screening,
प्रॉब्लम्स.
so screening devices.
ओके, सो वन पर्सन से स्क्रीनिंग डिवाइसेस. जमेश, आप कुछ सजेस्ट करना चाहेंगे?
So, mm, so पता नहीं सर.
ओके ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम नो प्रॉब्लम. तो अगर हम लोग देखें, इसमें क्वेश्चन में ही थोड़ा बहुत आंसर छिपा हुआ है. पहला है कि आर फार चीपर टू सॉल्व वेरियस हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स. ना अगर हम बात करें हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स की, तो हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स शुरू होने से पहले कुछ सिम्टम्स आते हैं, राइट? कोई भी दिक्कत होगी, अब वो सिम्टम्स होगा ना, वो सिम्टम्स कुड बी एक्सटर्नल और इट could be internal. Okay, now many a times, these symptoms appear in the form of pulses. है ना? पल्सेस यानी कि आपकी जो हार्ट बीट हो गई वगैरह हो गई. तो कहीं ना कहीं अगर आप जो जो एक जो थ्योरी है और जो लाइन ऑफ थॉट जो इस क्वेश्चन के पीछे वो है, ये है कि प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्योर. और इसमें कहीं ना कहीं आंसर छुपा हुआ है कि अगर हम प्रॉब्लम को या कोई हेल्थ डिजीज है उसको बहुत इनिशियल स्टेजेस में अगर पकड़ लेते हैं, तो उससे क्या होता है कि हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने की प्रोबेबिलिटी हमारी बढ़ जाती है. और दूसरा जो कॉस्ट आने वाला है उसके ट्रीटमेंट में, वो बहुत कम हो जाता है. ओके, so that is where we say that the early you detect, it is always good. So जैसे अगर हमने कोविड का भी एग्जांपल देखा था, तो स्क्रीनिंग हो रही थी ना, कोविड टेस्टिंग हो रही थी, बहुत बड़े लेवल पे वो लोग टेस्टिंग कर रहे थे. क्यों कर रहे थे? बिकॉज इट इज वेरी चीप. क्योंकि जो स्क्रीनिंग डिवाइसेस होते हैं, एक तो बहुत सस्ते होते हैं और चीपर. चीपर एज कम्पेयर टू, अगर आप इम्प्लांट्स की बात करो, हॉस्पिटल अप्लायंसेस की बात करो, या फिर सर्जिकल इक्विपमेंट्स की बात करो ना. क्योंकि वो लेटर स्टेज में इन्वॉल्व हो रहे हैं, यानी कि उसमें सैनिटी उतनी ही ज़्यादा चाहिए, उसमें हाइजीन उतना ही ज़्यादा चाहिए, उसके वर्क एफिशिएंसी उतनी ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए, राइट? सो स्क्रीनिंग डिवाइसेस हमारे बहुत अर्लियर लेवल पे आते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ हेल्थ डिजीज. एंड इफ वी आर एबल टू डू दैट, वी आर एबल टू कंट्रोल मनी फैक्टर, एंड देन द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ a person to be better, to be healed, is much more far better as compared to the later stages. Okay, and that is where I'll say I have the key. मेरे पास चाबी. हाँ, बाकी बाहर निकलनी. एक सेकेंड, एक सेकेंड, जस्ट होल्ड ऑन. हाँ. अब वैसे किसने दी? वाजुकी सर के सामने तो लेटर साइन हुआ था. नहीं नहीं, तो ये नहीं पता कौन से दी, किसने दी, ये पूछा मैं, कौन सी दी आपको? ये है मेरे पास. वो दूसरे वाले गेट की राइट वाली गेट. आप बंद करके चले जाइए, मैं आ जाऊँ. ओके, सो लेट मी जस्ट कंटिन्यू वंस अगेन. तो हमने यही बताया कि मास स्क्रीनिंग डिवाइसेस जो होते हैं उनकी कॉस्ट काफ़ी कम होती है, क्योंकि वो डिजीज़ के बहुत पहले वाला पार्ट हम लोग ट्राई करते हैं ट्रैक करने का. एंड दैट इज़ वेयर द राइट आंसर इज. बाकी स्टेजेस में क्या होता है, हमारे कॉस्ट बढ़ने लगते हैं, प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करना थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी होने लगता है, एज वी सक्सीड मोर टूवर्ड्स द इलनेस गेटिंग वर्स. ओके ओके, लेट्स कम टू द एट्थ क्वेश्चन. Which of these can be one of the key insights derived from the module Biomed Innovation by Professor Ravi? Options are focus on innovation, focus on the end user, focus on the product, focus on the business. तो अगर आप ये जो मॉड्यूल्स हैं, अगर आप ये शुरू से देखते आ रहे हैं, आई थिंक द आंसर वुड बी मच मोर क्लियरर टू यू बाय नाउ. Which of these can be one of the key insights? Key insights derived from the module Biomed Innovation by Professor Ravi. किस पे फोकस करना चाहिए हमें, अगर हम कोई प्रोडक्ट डिजाइन कर रहे हैं या कोई इनोवेशन लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं?
So option B.
ऑप्शन बी. ओके, एनीवन एल्स who would want to?
So same option B.
ऑप्शन बी, ऑप्शन बी। जमेश थोड़ा आप बताना चाहेंगे वाई ऑप्शन बी?
So because if we identify our end user, we can do step by step innovation. Then we design product, and then we market it, that product.
ओके, ओके। भावना, इफ यू कैन आल्सो शेयर योर व्यू पॉइंट।
सर एक्चुअली हम जो प्रोडक्ट बनाते हैं वो यूजर के लिए ही बनाते हैं, तो आई थिंक
Okay. So you both are very, very correct. And the correct answer is actually this only, which is, focus on the end user. And like you both mentioned that, it is for the end user we are, creating or finding solutions. So the key insight is that we should always focus on the end user. हमारा जो एंड यूजर है, हमारे जो जो प्रोडक्ट आपका यूज करने वाला है, उस पे हमारा फोकस होना चाहिए। और जब उस पे फोकस होता है तो ग्रेजुअली दी अदर थिंग्स कम आउट, है ना? उसमें इनोवेशन भी आएगा, उसमें प्रोडक्ट भी डिजाइन होगा, उसमें फिर हम लोग बिजनेस भी लाएंगे, बिकॉज वी आर ट्राइंग टू मीट द नीड्स ऑफ द एंड यूजर, नीड्स ऑफ द एंड यूजर। ओके, so both of you are correct, and this is the right option, which is focus on the end user. Great. We come to our second last question. The question is, according to Professor Ravi in Module 5, an ideal team structure is composed of interdisciplinary researchers, experienced mentors, end users, and visiting experts. ओके, तो ये प्रोफेसर रवि के लेक्चर के अनुसार आप लोग को रिप्लाई करना है कि जो आइडियल टीम स्ट्रक्चर होता है। इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द सेशन ऑल्सो वी टॉक्ड अबाउट टीम कॉम्पोजिशन, किस टाइप का टीम स्ट्रक्चर होना चाहिए, एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू एड्रेस वन ऑफ द लर्नर्स एंड देयर जर्नी। सो it the question pertains to that aspect only कि एक आइडियल टीम स्ट्रक्चर में क्या कॉम्पोजिशन होना चाहिए। सो देर आर मल्टीपल करेक्ट आंसर्स टू इट, एंड आई वुड वांट कि आप लोग भी अटेम्प्ट करें, मुझे बताएं कि व्हाट वुड बी द राइट आंसर। यस,
सर
आइडियल
ए
टीम स्ट्रक्चर। ओके, यस यस, प्लीज गो अहेड।
सर ए बी और डी।
ओके, सो भावना से ए बी एंड डी,
Sir, A and B.
जमिश से ए एंड बी। अच्छा, ठीक है, ठीक है। थोड़ा सा मैं आप लोगों का व्यू पॉइंट जानना चाहूंगा। भावना से शुरू करते हैं। मैम, आप बताएं कि व्हाई डोंट यू थिंक इट इज सी?
सर वो तो हमारे यूजर है, आई मीन बिकॉज वी आर डिजाइनिंग फॉर देम, तो हम उनको टीम में कैसे रखते हैं।
ऑल राइट, ऑल राइट। ठीक है, आपका भी पॉइंट सही है कि वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट आइडियल टीम स्ट्रक्चर, एंड टीम इज वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल, है ना? जब हम एक टीम फॉर्म कर रहे हैं तो टीम नीड्स टू बी कंपोज ऑफ सर्टेन मेंबर्स, एंड द पॉइंट इज दैट एंड यूजर्स आर आर टारगेट ऑडियंस, इनके लिए हम बना रहे हैं। सो they could not be a part of it. Obviously they will be in loop in the different stages of design process, so which is correct. ठीक है, जमेश पे आते हैं। जमेश, व्हाई डू यू थिंक विजिटिंग एक्सपर्ट्स नहीं होना चाहिए?
सर क्योंकि रिसर्चर और मेंटर्स का जो कॉम्बिनेशन होता है वो अच्छे से कंपोज हो तो टीम अच्छी बनती है। फिर विजिटिंग एक्सपर्ट का सर मुझे अभी आइडिया नहीं है कुछ।
ओके, 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 फाइन। let us try and take help from this screenshot, from the content. तो मेडिकल डिवाइस इनोवेशन के इकोसिस्टम में उन्होंने 4 हेड्स बताए थे, जिसमें टीम स्ट्रक्चर है, इनोवेशन कल्चर है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड प्रोसीजर्स हैं। नाउ इफ यू सी द टीम स्ट्रक्चर, इट सेज इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्चर्स, सो बोथ ऑफ यू सेड इट करेक्टली, ये होगा। एक्सपीरियंस मेंटर्स, यस इट इज करेक्ट। देन इट सेज फैसिलिटी मैनेजर्स, ओके, जो कि वहां पे ऑप्शन नहीं है। एंड देन इट सेज विजिटिंग एक्सपर्ट्स। सो बाय विजिटिंग एक्सपर्ट्स वी मीन दैट, अगर आप मान लीजिए किसी बायोमेडिकल में काम कर रहे हैं, तो यू कैन हैव सर्टेन डॉक्टर्स, जैसे आप मान लीजिए लंग के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, तो आप कुछ पल्मोनरी मेडिसिन के कुछ एक्सपर्ट्स को बुला सकते हैं, उनका फीडबैक ले सकते हैं। सो दैट इज वेयर वी आर रेफरिंग टू एक्सपर्ट्स। सो इफ यू आर डीलिंग विद से लेग के लिए कुछ बना रहे हैं, प्रोस्थेटिक्स के लिए बना रहे हैं, तो आप अकॉर्डिंगली यू डिफर ऑन योर डोमेन एंड यू इनवाइट एक्सपर्ट्स फ्रॉम दैट पर्टिकुलर डोमेन. Okay, so this is the composition which has been suggested by Professor Ravi, and in our previous question, if we see, end users was mentioned, but that is not the right answer. The right answers are A and B, of which both of you are correct, and option D, which is the visiting experts. So end users will not be a part of the team, and which is there. Okay. So this leads us to the final question. The question is, complete the following sentence. As mentioned in module 5 by Professor Ravi, dash is the first step in product innovation. Okay. Product innovation में पहला step क्या है? प्रथम step, the first step. Now, what is the first step that you will take for product innovation? Well articulated solution, well conceptualized idea, well defined plan, या well defined unmet need. Yes.
Sir, B, well defined unmet need.
Which one? Option B or D?
D, well
Okay.
defined unmet need.
Okay. Fine. Fine. I'll take that as a option. आप कुछ बताना चाहेंगे जमेश?
Sir, same option D, I think.
Okay, okay. So both of you say option D, which is well-defined unmet need. Okay, let us go through the options. First is well-articulated solution. So product innovation में articulated solution cannot be the first step. It can be a say gradual में process में कहीं ना कहीं आ सकता है. It could might be there in one of the stages, but it is not the first step. Similarly, well conceptualized idea. It might be somewhere here, before you begin. Then comes your well-defined plan. You might have an idea, you might know that, this is a great plan. It might come somewhere here. But well-defined unmet need is something that you will begin with. जैसे कि हमने बताया ना, हमारा टारगेट यूजर क्या है, हमारे एंड यूजर के नीड्स क्या हैं, एंड दैट इज वेयर वी से दैट well-defined unmet need. So that is a very correct option from both of you. The correct option is well-defined unmet need, and आप दोनों ही इसमें you both are correct here. Well done. Yes, yes. So I see a hand raise.
सर, ये वेल डिफाइंड अनमेट नीड का मतलब ही क्या प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट है या कुछ और है ये?
See, when it's written well-defined unmet need, so unmet need का मतलब है कि कोई ऐसी नीड जिसमें अभी तक कोई कार्य नहीं हुआ है. Where we don't have any solutions, where still the people are facing problems, so the problems are still unmet. Okay, so it needs certain kind of addressal, it needs certain kind of solution, which is still the problem. Well, what we can say is that the problem is still pertinent, it is still there, and it is not unmet. मतलब इट्स स्टिल अनमेट. अभी तक उसके लिए कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं आया है, अभी तक उसके लिए किसी ने काम नहीं किया है, और वो कहीं ना कहीं अभी भी अनछुआ रह गया है. सो दैट इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू से.
ओके.
All right. So by this we end our 10 questions of problem solving. What we'll do next is I'll just quickly go through. These were the questions which were raised in the previous discussions, and I'll just have a very brief overview on this. So one question was, how we can get the announcements, and for that the answer was posted by the NPTEL team, where they said that this is the link and this is how you can go through the announcements. Okay. The next one was, one of the users was unable to access the content of week-wise lectures, for which we tried to solve that problem, and eventually we started sharing the YouTube videos for the content. Then comes unable to register for course certificate examination. So for this, although this was a very specific query from one learner, we didn't see that happening across learners. And I believe it was one of a case. So the suggestion was that, if the institute ID is not working, you can actually utilize your Gmail ID, your personal ID. So that might also work. And again, that is the week 4 content. So we just the YouTube videos for direct access. All right. Now I'll just go through the session recap. Session recap in the sense, whatever content was offered in week 5. I'll just quickly go through as a summarized view. I mean, I'll just take the highlights of it and not all of them. So so for medical innovation, what are the different stakeholders? So Professor Ravi started that, he started that, the primary ones are the hospitals, the government, industry, and academia. Okay, these are the primary ones. And within that, you have got, these certain branching. When you talk about government, they might help us with the funding, and then there are government regulations that need to be followed, that need to be thought through, that needs to be undertaken. Likewise, in academia, there is one aspect of research, the other aspect is of, development, that first you try to do research is in what kind of solutions are available, what kind of techniques and technology they are utilizing, and then finally, developing another version, either it is economical, or it has a more added functionality. So that's where academia plays a very critical role. Now industry helps in two aspects. It helps in manufacturing your uh, idea, manufacturing your prototype, whatever you have built in, and it also helps with the marketing of a product, right? And as I mentioned, hospitals are where your problem definition will happen. खासकर मेडिकल इनोवेशन में आपके जो प्रॉब्लम डेफिनेशन है वो हॉस्पिटल्स में पेशेंट से और डॉक्टर्स से you reach them, you connect with them, you talk with them. That's where you get all these things, right? And solution validation, this is also happening there, because अगर आप कोई concept बनाएंगे, कोई develop करेंगे, you'll have to go there, you'll have to see what the doctors say, what the patients say, whether it has helped in whatever they have been performing, they have been doing. Has it reduced the time factor? Has it reduced the effort? Has it reduced the cognitive load? All those things will be validated here. So these are the primary, you can say, the linkages of stakeholders. And then there are some other, which is media, the incubators, the test centers, and the investors. They also have a very critical role to play. As in, for example, if you come up with something which is very, very interesting, very innovative, very helpful, if media, highlights that, so then the kind of visibility that your product will get is something which is very huge, right? आपके अगर अखबार में छपता है, मैगजीन में छपता है, आपके न्यूज़ चैनल्स में आता है ना? तो अगर इन सारे मीडियम्स में आपका अगर सॉल्यूशन आने लगता है, तो you get a lot of visibility. There could be people who are from the rural area or from the different parts of the country who might be facing those challenges, and if they see this kind of solutions, they might connect with you, right? So ये सारे ही channels, ये सारे ही stakeholders बहुत बहुत important हैं when we are talking about medical device innovation. We go further. This slide talks about the risk classification, how we go from low risk to high risk. हमने थोड़ी बहुत बात भी की थी, wherein we were saying that screening devices की हम बात करें, वो कहीं ना कहीं लो रिस्क कैटेगरी में आता है screening devices. And then as you go further, you increase key risk factors. Say for example, bandages, thermometers, ये थोड़ा सा लो रिस्क में आता है. धीरे धीरे ये रिस्क बढ़ने लगता है, where you become more invasive, wherein your critical body parts are being taken care by the support systems, and then finally the implants and the pacemaker, which are making you live. Any discrepancy, any minor changes might be very, very fatal. Okay, so that is where we say that these are high risk. तो ये सारे ही फैक्टर्स बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है when we are taking medical device as a domain of product design and product innovation. और खासकर मेडिकल लाइन में ये रेगुलेशंस, ये सेफ्टी स्टैंडर्ड्स नीड्स टू बी followed. So that is why they said that, low risk zone is something wherein, if you're a startup, you can start with. And eventually, है ना, ऐसा नहीं बोल रहे कि आप हाई रिस्क पे नहीं जा सकते, आप जा सकते हो, बट इफ यू गो इवेंचुअली, और you can also go directly if you have the right partners. You've got the right partners, you've got the right team, you might, you might work on it. अगर आपके फाइनेंसेस अच्छे हैं, आपके पास अच्छा सपोर्ट है, you can directly go there. बट दूसरा प्रोसेस हो सकता है, यू स्टार्ट विद समथिंग हियर, देन you reach there and you reach further. Okay, both channels are there. आप काम कर सकते हैं दोनों ही मेथडोलॉजी में. This is what we were talking about, smart stethoscope. Now, क्या कोई बता सकता है कि what is the smartness here? What does the smart stethoscope does? Jamish, could you tell?
Sir, it is electronically operated.
Okay, okay. What else? हाउ इज इट हेल्पिंग? जैसे जो नॉर्मल स्टेथोस्कोप था उसमें आपका ये कंपोनेंट मिसिंग था, ठीक है, नॉर्मल वाले में. तो इन्होंने स्मार्ट स्टेथोस्कोप में क्या किया, दे एडेड समथिंग, है ना, दिस वाज एडेड इन दैट. तो इसको ऐड करने से क्या बेनिफिट मिला, आप बता सकते हैं? ओके, लेट्स गो अ लिटिल बैक. स्टेथोस्कोप से हमें क्या मिलता है? व्हाट डू वी ट्राई टू हियर? भावना, इफ यू आर देयर, वुड यू लाइक टू अटेम्प्ट?
The heartbeat, basically.
Basically heartbeat. Okay, so can you take a wild guess, what could this add-on do? I mean, this is something
So
which is
count
added.
करता होगा.
क्या करता है?
Count कर number. I mean, within a minute.
Okay, it could
Heart
count.
rate पता लगता होगा.
Okay, I'm assuming you have not gone through the content, right?
Not yet.
Okay, fine. So, okay, so yes, basically, you hear heartbeats um, through the stethoscope. Now, अगर हम थोड़ा सा इसका बैकग्राउंड बताएं, it's a very interesting case wherein, there were three individuals who took part in a hackathon. जिसमें से दो medical, one was a doctor and the other came from different backgrounds of engineering. And one of the doctors, he said that the problem is that when you are trying to listen to the heartbeat, many a times when you are trying to hear the heartbeat, जो लंग्स हैं, लंग्स की भी जो बीटिंग होती है, वो भी इसके साथ आती है. सो द साउंड ऑफ हार्ट एंड लंग, they couple together, so it becomes quite difficult in terms of understanding कि इनमें से precisely किसकी बात हो रही है. Okay, so this was the problem, and many a times in the early stage, doctors, they face these challenges. Once they get experience, obviously, they could, get it perfectly, but in the initial years, this was identified as a problem. Now, what they did was that they used this device. The idea of this was the POC. POC stands for proof of concept. That you have a concept and you have got a proof. So it works in a certain way, but however, it is not that well designed because it requires certain, aesthetic, certain small compositions. तो उन्होंने क्या किया? इन्होंने एक डिवाइस बनाया जो क्या करेगा? जो एम्पलीफाई करेगा. It will amplify the sound. सो जो हार्ट बीट होगा उसका साउंड आपका एम्पलीफाइड हो जाएगा. एंड व्हाट दे आल्सो डिड वाज दे कनेक्टेड विद एन एप्लीकेशन. ओके, उन्होंने एक मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन भी बनाया इन विच यू कैन नॉट ओनली हियर बट यू कैन आल्सो विजुअलाइज. तो दे कुड गेट दीज स्पाइक्स ऑफ, जो जो साउंड के जो स्पाइक्स आते हैं वो भी उनको दिखने लगे. ठीक है, सो हार्ट से तो उनको सुनाई तो दे रहा है, हार्ट बीट भी उनको एम्पलीफाइड साउंड सुनाई देने लगी, बट उनको विजुअल भी एक डिपिक्शन मिलने लगा. सो इट वाज हेल्पिंग देम इन बोथ द वेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ रीअफर्मिंग एंड रिकन्फर्मिंग कि भाई जो मैं देख रहा हूँ वो वही है और उसका साउंड भी एम्पलीफाई हो गया. सो द डिसीजन मेकिंग वाज मच मोर बेटर. ओके, एंड वन ऑफ द फैंटास्टिक पार्ट ऑफ दिस सॉल्यूशन वाज दैट आप कोई भी ऑर्डिनरी स्टेथोस्कोप लो, आप उसमें ये डिवाइस प्लग इन कर सकते हो। यू नो, दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ डिजाइन कि यू आर मेकिंग समथिंग विच डज नॉट रिक्वायर एन एक्स्ट्रा सेटअप। जो भी आपका पुराना सेटअप है, उसमें यू जस्ट ऐड इट ऑन एंड इट विल वर्क। यू नो, सच अ ब्रिलियंट सोल्यूशन। तो आपको पूरी पूरी चीज मैन्युफैक्चर करने की भी जरूरत नहीं है। यू आर नॉट सेइंग दैट यू आर मेकिंग स्मार्ट स्टेथोस्कोप्स विच नीड्स टू बी completely manufactured in a new way। You are utilizing something which is existing and you are making it smart. So it's a very small plugin, but then it has very very huge value. You know, the kind of value it is creating for the doctors and for the patient, it is huge. It's remarkable. Okay, तो आई बिलीव नाउ आप लोग को समझ में आया होगा व्हाट द प्रोडक्ट वाज ऑल अबाउट। And it basically highlights their journey. They started with the POC and then prototype 2, and then the final product. And it has been ordered by many doctors in the rural areas, as well as the doctors at big hospitals. Very remarkable case study. Okay, so whenever you get time, you try to go through it, and it's a very interesting case. Okay. Coming to the next part, deploy. Like we talked about the 4Ds, है ना? Define, develop, deliver, and then the last stage is deploy. Okay. As I talked about, it basically deals with the commercialization part. So one is the design, manufacture, and validation. The second part is about the IP, which is the intellectual property, the patent filing, and all those things, and then the technology licensing. I think once you have that property, you could be incubated. You can reach out to the NGOs in terms of helping them with treat cases with your solutions. So this is again a very critical aspect of commercialization. This basically talks about the valleys of death. I think it's quite close to what Professor Chakravarti talks about in terms of the seven concerns and the valleys of death. So here Professor Ravi talks about how you start. You have a certain idea and you reach out to POC, which is a proof of concept. वहां से आप प्रोटोटाइप लेवल तक आते हो, प्रोटोटाइप से फिर आप प्रोडक्ट पे आते हो, फिर आप मार्केट पे जाते हो। But one of the critical aspects which he has shown also is the kind of cost which is involved. So from concept to POC आपका 50,000 लगता है, फिर उसके बाद 10 टाइम्स बढ़ता है, फिर 10 टाइम्स बढ़ता है। So this costing, ये जो कॉस्ट फैक्टर है, ये आपका बहुत ड्रामेटिकली बढ़ता है, and which again might be a cause of a valley of death. Valley of death basically means where your idea will probably end, है ना? यहाँ पे आके आपका आइडिया या कॉन्सेप्ट है रुक जाएगा। सो द मोर यू आर क्रॉसिंग दीज आइडियाज, यू आर गोइंग टुवर्ड्स अ वेरी हेल्दी स्टार्टअप। बट कई बार क्या होता है, इधर हमारा स्टेज पे या स्टेज पे या स्टेज पे आके हमारा आइडिया जो होता है इट एंड्स। Okay, and every stage has different challenges in terms of support, in terms of monetary aspects, in terms of motivation, in terms of team members. So all these aspects are very critical in terms of going from left to right. Okay, so ये थोड़ा सा कठिन होता है stages, but that is why they say valleys of death. Death is a very strong word used, but then it is the death of idea, death of a concept. Okay. Okay. Now, this was one of the very touching slides when I saw this. Although the things were incremental, but I think it is something which could be related. So he says that the Ikigai principle or Ikigai को उन्होंने मेडिकल डिवाइस इनोवेशन से कनेक्ट किया है। ओके, सो हाउ ही बिगिंस इज दैट यू नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई व्हाट यू रियली लव डूइंग। आपको क्या अच्छा लगता है करना, आप क्या अच्छे से करते हैं, व्हाट आर यू गुड एट, व्हाट कैन बी पेड फॉर, एंड व्हाट द वर्ल्ड नीड्स। एंड ही ट्राइज टू सेग्रीगेट देम। ही जो इनके बीच जो बैचेस बन रहे हैं उनको फिर उन्होंने हाईलाइट किया इन टर्म्स ऑफ चेयरफुलनेस एंड कॉन्फिडेंस। तो यहाँ पे कहीं ना कहीं पैशन आता है। कॉन्फिडेंट और कैश क्रेडिट, यहाँ पे प्रोफेशन आता है। कैश क्रेडिट विच मीन्स द सैलरी पार्ट एंड द कंटेंट पार्ट, यहाँ पे कहीं ना कहीं वोकेशन आता है। एंड व्हेन द कंटेंट एंड चेयरफुलनेस इज मिक्स, यहाँ पे मिशन आता है। सो The examples are also given. I think the examples of the individuals and this particular graph will actually help you understand, what the professor is talking about. And it's really very something which we needs to pause, think, and try to address in terms of what we really want, what we are doing, what makes us happy, what we are good at, what can help us, sustain, what can help us, get certain amount of money, and then, what the world needs, ज़रूरत क्या है इस दुनिया को. Okay. So ये जो चीज़ें हैं, ये कहीं न कहीं अगर हम अपने जीवन में लाते हैं, अपने जीवन को एनालाइज़ करते हैं, आई थिंक इट कैन really help us in a lot more ways. And so you can ponder upon these aspects. This was one of the very fascinating slides for me, and it might be helpful for many of you. Okay, I think now we are reaching to the last part of our presentation. So this was what I mentioned about the ALM. Yeah, I talked about uh, additional learning material. So it's a your story coverage. Uh, as I mentioned that there was a startup called Hula Global. Okay, and how they utilize that COVID time in terms of shifting their gears and pivoting from garment manufacturing to basically masks and making PPE kits for the hospitals. So I think it gives a very good glimpse of how we can change gears, how the constraints can actually bring something new. One way could have been that to shut the operations, and just wait for the COVID time to pass and wait for normalcy. But a creative mindset would kind of think around the constraints. Okay, constraints में भी opportunity देखता है, constraints में भी देखता है कि मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ. And that's where this particular startup, they started working around let us utilize our facilities in terms of making masks, face masks, and the face shields, and the complete gowns, overalls, जो मेडिकल इंडस्ट्री में यूज हो रहे थे. एंड दे वर एबल टू स्केल देयर ऑपरेशंस, है ना, बहुत तेजी से उन्होंने स्केल किया. और अगर आप देखें, जैसे मैंने बताया था कि नॉट ओनली इन इंडिया बट दे हैव जॉइन हैंड्स विद बहरीन गवर्नमेंट, किंगडम ऑफ सऊदी अरेबिया, ब्राजील एंड इटली टू सप्लाई these kits. So this tells us, if you are able to make the right decision, take use of the opportunity, the sky is not the limit, है ना, जैसे कि चंद्रयान के लिए भी हम बोलते थे. So we have reached where nobody has reached in the south pole. Similarly, there are many stories like this who made use of COVID times in terms of scaling their operations, in terms of shifting their, pivoting their business, and reaching to a very different aspect, and gaining more turnovers, gaining more profits as compared to their traditional businesses. Okay, so that is what our story is today for week 5. And let me go back to our session. Yes. So Jamish, before we conclude, in Bhavna, anything which you would want to share, anything which you liked about the session?
सर काफी इंटरेस्टिंग और एंगेजिंग सेशन था. थैंक यू सो मच. और काफी सारे डाउट्स क्लियर हो गए हैं. एक्चुअली आई वांट सम एडवाइस फ्रॉम यू कि अगर मैं फिर से स्टार्टअप का प्लान करती हूँ तो व्हाट एडवाइस यू कैन गिव मी.
That's a very good question. Okay. So let me attempt this. I'm not saying that I'm the expert and I will be giving you the right advice, but let me attempt it from my side. Okay, and you can take that as a suggestion. Now, अगर आप इस कोर्स को पूरा करेंगे, मतलब अगर आप मॉड्यूल 1 से अभी तक इस पूरी जर्नी में आएंगे, तो यू विल रियलाइज दैट देयर आर मेनी एस्पेक्ट्स which needs to be covered when we are trying to attempt a startup, it needs to be triggered from the user. So many times क्या होता है कि we find a particular idea, और हमें लगता है कि ये बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत वर्क करेगा, हो सकता है कि we get a good feedback from the people around us. But then whether that idea or whether that solution is kind of इज अ नीड बाय द यूजर्स और नॉट, है ना? तो ये बहुत बड़ा एक फैक्टर होता है सक्सेसफुल का। तो कई बार क्या होता है कि जो हम बना रहे हैं वो बेसिकली वो प्रॉब्लम है ही नहीं। ओके, से फॉर एग्जांपल, कुड यू टेल मी आप किस पे काम कर रहे थे और क्या आपका प्रोडक्ट था? एंड
सर आप जो बोल रहे हैं वो सही है। मैंने एक्चुअली पहले प्रोडक्ट ही बना लिया था, फिर उसको मार्केट करने की सोच रहे थे। तो अ, अगर अभी इस कोर्स के हिसाब से देखेंगे तो यूजर का तो मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था कि एक्चुअली नीड है या नहीं है।
ओके ओके।
तो
और
शायद
इसमें
मेरा
मैं
प्रोसेस गलत हो गया था।
ये बोलना भी सही नहीं है कि प्रोसेस गलत हो गया था। कई बार you you know come to a product and then you show it and then people see value in it, और उनको लगता है हाँ ये तो मुझे चाहिए। तो कई बार ऐसा भी होता है, cases are there, but
हम्म।
yes, if it is driven by the user needs, I think the probability of success is more, and the probability of failure is probably less. So that is one aspect. So it needs to be driven by the user needs. So that is one thing. The other aspect which I feel is that having a very diverse set of team. Many times startup में ऐसा होता है कि because of the funds crunch, we try to stick to less number of people, but that does not help. You need to have people with different backgrounds which can actually critique you, which can actually give you a lot of insights, because not everything you can do on your own, है ना? तो उसके लिए you need different kind of people, you need a multidisciplinary team जिसमें कि आप उसको यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं। तो जो पहली चीज कोई भी इस पूरे कोर्स में बताया गया है कि द फर्स्ट थिंग इज दैट यू रीच आउट टू द पीपल, you reach out to your consumers, your users, you try to identify what their unmet needs are, उनको क्या दिक्कत हो रही है, and then you work out, you try to come up with a solution. And then once you have that need, you have that product or a solution, and then you are facing challenges of scaling it up. कि कई बार क्या होता है कि हमारा प्रोडक्ट हो जाता है, हो सकता है प्रोडक्ट में रिफाइनमेंट चाहिए, या फिर आपको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि उसके बाद में क्या करूं। दैट इज वेयर दिस कोर्स टॉक्स अबाउट टेकिंग हेल्प फ्रॉम इंक्यूबेटर्स, है ना? इट हैज 2 to 3 इंक्यूबेटर्स जहाँ पे उन्होंने वेदर रनिंग पार्टनर्स हैं, इस तरीके से उन्होंने बताया कि देर इज जीडीसी है, साइन इंक्यूबेटर्स है, बिटिक सेंटर है। तो यहाँ पे आके अगर आप इनके अंडर में जाते हैं तो दे हैव अ वेरी थॉटफुली प्लेस्ड प्रोसेस जो सीक्वेंशियल है। आप एक एक करके उनको गो थ्रू कर सकते हैं, एंड दे विल हैंड होल्ड यू। आप वो आपको धीरे धीरे करके स्टेप बाय स्टेप हैंड होल्ड करेंगे। काम सर आप ही को करना होगा, ऑब्वियसली यू हैव टू, यू आर द ओनर्स ऑफ द स्टार्टअप, देन work will be driven by you, but then they will be there to guide you, they will be there to connect you with the prominent people, the important people, and the people relevant to your particular domain wherever you are working in। और जैसे-जैसे वो उन लोगों से इनसाइट्स मिलता रहता है, जैसे हमने विजिटिंग मेंटर्स की बात की और विजिटिंग एक्सपर्ट्स की बात की, दैट वैल्यू व्हिच दे क्रिएट बाय शेयरिंग देयर फीडबैक एंड देयर ओपिनियन, दैट हेल्प्स यू इन टर्म्स ऑफ रीडिफाइनिंग योर अप्रोच, redefining your product, and coming up to a product which is much more utilizable and usable by the people. So the reduce of failures, sorry, the risks of failures are reduced greatly. I would rather say that.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू फॉर द सेशन।
ओके ओके भावना। जमेश, आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा, अ, कैसा लगा आपको सेशन? वर यू एबल टू गो थ्रू, अंडरस्टैंड?
Yes, sir. The session is good, and I understand little bit, and which I do not understand. I do understand that concepts.
ग्रेट ग्रेट ग्रेट। तो बहुत बढ़िया, आप दोनों लोगों ने सेशन सुना, यू ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, एंड आई रियली विश both of you कि you succeed in your startup journeys, यू हैव दैट सीड इनसाइड, आप अभी भी करना चाहते हैं आपके दिमाग में। वन इज जमिश इज स्टार्टिंग एट अ वेरी यंग एज एंड भावना हैज ऑलरेडी एन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ अ स्टार्टअप। आई थिंक both will, for both of you, I think this course will come very handy, very helpful in terms of, what are the next steps, where you can seek help in terms of industry mentors and in terms of support centers, which are offered by various agencies, various organizations. And I think that will be really very, very helpful. So thank you both of you for actively participating today. As we have been progressing, we have seen that the count of users are reduced. Probably this is also a sign that इतने problems face नहीं हो रहे. The content of NPTEL has been made in a way that बहुत problems आ नहीं रहे हैं लोगों को while attempting the question. So which is a very good thing. I think that is also a very positive thing. But as a protocol, we'll be conducting these live sessions throughout. And जहाँ पे हम कहीं ना कहीं जानेंगे समझेंगे, बिकॉज आप लोगों के इंटरेक्शन से भी बहुत चीज़ें हमें सीखने को मिल रही हैं. वी आर ट्राइंग टू लर्न योर थॉट प्रोसेस, अंडरस्टैंड योर थॉट प्रोसेस, और किस तरह से आप अराइव कर रहे हैं आंसर्स में. एंड ऑब्वियसली आई थिंक इन द लॉन्ग टर्म इट विल ऑल्सो हेल्प अस इन टर्म्स ऑफ improving the NPTEL courses and the way these sessions are held, so that these are much more fruitful to our learners. So I am really thankful to both of you for participating in these sessions, and best of luck for your journeys, and a very happy weekend to both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay. Now I'll just take a few minutes. I mean, if you want, you can leave. I'll just do some wrapping up of the video, wherein I'll go through and screen share that where the content, week 5 content is. Okay, if you want, you can be in the video, or you can also leave. That is fine. Okay, so we are done with today's session. Uh, Now I'll just quickly go through the week wise content. So, all right. So we have been sailing our course from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, week 4, and finally we are at the week 5. Okay. So week 5 starts with healthcare and innovation. Herein, Professor Ravi basically talks about the BitX Center and how it has been helping the users and the startups who are coming there with a very brief idea. This is where you get the lecture 9 on healthcare and innovation,
Why I mentioned this is
and the best practices, then the healthcare medical devices, the segregation of medical devices, diagnosis and treatment. Uh, like I mentioned this slide about how the medical industry has been growing and what are the projections. So it also gives a very interesting value. Uh, this talks about the medical device industry in India. Obviously, the about what the budget has been assigned, and again, certain projections. And this basically talks about the success story of three individuals who came together in terms of stethoscope by coming up with a smart stethoscope which can amplify the sound so that one can hear better and come up with better solutions. Then comes lecture 10 about the medtech success stories. Here in detail,
can we
they
analyze the sound?
talked
Okay.
about the product. And if you see, this is the video part, the app, in which you can visualize the sound. You can make much more better judgment by visualizing it apart from hearing the sound. So there are lung sound, there is heart sound, and you can see them, the peaks, and you can record them. You can actually send them to the senior doctors for more critical assessment. This is their team. Define, develop, deliver, and deploy, which is about the investors. Define is, where we are making the problem statement, developing the concepts into prototypes, delivering it through, pilot manufacturing, and finally the deployment. This talks about IP, device distribution. So the problem statement needs to have what, who, and where. What is the problem? What is the validation? Who has the problem? Who has seen or studied the problem? Where does this problem happen? So all these aspects are there. And then, what are the must-haves in a problem statement? Should not be vague, should not point to a solution, and must go to the root cause. Okay. And then, functional requirements has been talked about. These are some of the stakeholders who have been active part in various sessions and playing a very key role and important role in terms of you know helping and suggesting the startups what could be done, how they can improve. All right. And then finally, lecture 11, which was about the innovation process, and which talks about medical device innovation. See, it says the running partners for medtech innovators. This is the Betic pipeline, which we talked about. Starts with Medha, Medic, Betic, and then Medics, which is the exhibition, and business incubators, and finally the business expansion. We have Betic Fellows and what they're working on, their stories, their exhibitions, with Honorable PM also visiting to their stall and understanding the various innovations. These are the different companies. Almost, I think, 16 products have been developed under Betic, and all of them had a very huge potential in terms of impact. This is where I talked about the champions, the ikigai principle. If it connects with the medical device, I think it's also very interesting way of making that connection. Okay. And in terms of additional learning materials, if you see, this is the your story page, and then there are links to the PDFs. I just quickly show it open because many times a user might not be able to understand that. So this is the story, your story coverage, which talks about the Hula Global, wherein Karan Bose, who was the founder, he translated and pivoted his business angle from garment manufacturing to a complete shift towards making hospital requirements in terms of masks and gowns and PPE kits. So this story talks about it. In terms of case study, we had got two case studies. It's tech scan, the T scan sensor. There are two cases which have been discussed, case A and case B. All right. So, and then your week 6 content is also now available. So what you need to do is you need to go through the content of week this week, which is the week 6. So this video is of almost 40 minutes. Okay, and it's already available now. And then you have 1 hour video, and then the week 6 quiz. Okay. So once you have gone through the content, you can actually attempt this particular quiz as well. And so my best wishes to all the learners. And if you are going through this particular course, my best wishes to you. Keep doing, keep working, and it's very important you to follow the course content diligently. Try to make notes of it because by working out notes, eventually when you are at the end, attempting for the final NPTEL exam, these notes will come very handy. All right. तो ये जो नोट्स आप बना रहे हैं, हैंड नोट्स बना रहे हैं, स्क्रीनशॉट्स लेके आप अपना एक एक प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं, आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी गुड प्रैक्टिस जो आज हमें जेमिश ने बताया था। आई थिंक other learners can also do this कि you make a soft copy or a hard copy, you keep a notebook, आपको जो भी चीज लग रही है आप उसको नोट करते जाएं, because in the last moment going through the entire content और वो पूरा पूरा आपका वीडियोस को देखना will be very very challenging, है ना। इतना इतना सारा कंटेंट है, पूरा वीडियो का अपना एक पेस है, फॉरवर्ड करके कुछ मिस भी हो सकता है, राइट। तो यहाँ पे योर हैंड रिटन नोट्स विल कम वेरी वेरी हैंडी, राइट। तो आप अपने एक छोटी नोटबुक रखें, A5 साइज या जैसा भी आपका कंफर्टेबल हो, यू स्टार्ट नोटिंग इट डाउन, and you take snippets, you try to compose it in a PPT, for example, that could be done. Or what also you can do is that आप इन सेशंस में आ सकते हो wherein we also attempt certain previous year questions, तो वहां पे भी you can get a lot of understanding कि भाई पहले कैसे हुआ था, पहले इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आए थे, ये ऑप्शंस आ रहे हैं, इसमें से ऑप्शंस डिलीट करके इसको कैसे सेलेक्ट करना है, एंड दैट इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू, राइट। हम लोग सारे ऑप्शंस को डिस्कस करते हैं, ये नहीं हो सकता, ये नहीं हो सकता, ये क्यों नहीं हो सकता, और फिर ये हो रहा है। Alright. So these things will come handy when you are attempting your final exam. And I really hope that आप जितने लोगों ने भी इसमें enroll किया, you opt for examination, you get your certificates. कहीं ना कहीं it will always be handy. And even if not for certificate, you might become future entrepreneurs. So that is something which everybody will be proud and happy about it. Okay. So with that, I would like to end today's session. Namaskar. Thank you.